But John, let's actually talk about these releases, because I saw a note earlier this morning. I think it was Sean Ross Sapp. Someone had maybe seen a tweet of his or something to the extent of like, something's going on. There's going to be something happening today at WWE. And soon thereafter, we saw a list of names. The biggest name, I think, for I think most people saw this name and were kind of flabbergasted, is Braun Strowman. And so WWE released Braun Strowman. He's probably the biggest star that they've released in a little while, for sure. He was just in the triple threat main event at WWE Backlash with Drew and Bobby Lashley. So kind of a surprise to that extent. But what did you think about them releasing Braun Strowman?
I was shocked at first, and then I started thinking about it, and I don't know what goes on backstage there, or if there's any attitude issues. I've heard stuff from people that have dealt with him or been around him. Sometimes he can be kind of tough, but
he didn't start out in the wrestling business, right? No. Like, he was found doing something else, and they taught him how to do pro wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always liked Braun Strowman. I know some people might not, people are hard on him, but like he was over, once they started getting behind him, the whole monster deal, they started doing all those freaks of strength stuff with him. And, I thought they probably should have put the belt on him earlier, instead of feeding him to Brock Lesnar. I thought he should have won and kind of kept the momentum going. And, but I look at a guy like that. It's like, this is what happens when there's no territories, right? Like, he's a guy that, he's been around for quite a while, right? And on top for quite a while. I know he started with I think it was was he part of Adam Rose's group, right? He was a Rosebud, but
he was definitely a Rosebud.
Yeah, he was a Rosebud. But then, he was in a Wyatt family, and, very green there, obviously. But, he picked up things quickly and had some good matches with people that could really pull good matches out of him. Like Roman Reigns had a good match with him. The matches with Brock were fun. Stuff like that. But what do you do with the guy after a while? He's won the title. You just kind of beat him, so.
I do think it's interesting because when he came in, he was very protected. They didn't let him really do anything. They didn't let him sell for anything. And he was very green, and he was not ready. But it's that version of Braun Strowman who was more effective than the version of Braun Strowman who actually improved a ton and was in the main event stuff. And, I think he was a pretty good soldier. They had him do some really dumb stuff. You remember the Nicholas Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania a few years ago.
Just this WrestleMania with the lead up to Shane McMahon, the stupid Braun Strowman stuff.
Yeah. He seemed like a good soldier in that way. But, sometimes when you're a good soldier in that way, it's not effective for your career. But I just find it so interesting that when he sucked, and he had no right to be good because he was so brand new, they protected him and he was over. And then when he actually became one of the roster, just like their WWE superstar kind of guy, he's a little bit lost in the shuffle. So that's just, kind of the way things work sometimes.
Well, you got to start off a guy. You can't beat him starting out. So, they're definitely going to protect him. Especially a guy that size, that big. You don't want him losing, for a very long time. But he's been there for a while. How long has he been there for? Like, when was his main roster with the Wyatt family debut?
At least 2014 or something like that.
So he's been there for a good while. Made a lot of money, and
that seems like that's probably the main reason why he was let go, is because he did make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you expect him to continue his craft? And if so, where do you think the right opportunity is for him?
I don't see. He was never like a, guy that came through the indies, and I don't think he wants to go on that grind,
Not when he made fun of those guys.
Would AEW take him? I don't know if he really fits, but I mean, they also need some big guys. They only have a couple. They have a lot of little guys. Like, he would be the biggest guy on the roster, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he fits. I could see him probably maybe going to a different, using his celebrity or whatever he made, out of it, whatever he got out of WWE to do other things. I think he's like a big time hunter. He could probably do something like on a show, one of those, like a Shawn Michaels TV show, something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could do some acting, honestly. Like, look at that Nathan Jones role or Kurgan role in the movies, the big guy that comes fights the babyface in an action film. I could see him doing stuff like that. Make it be part of WWE Productions. I could hire him for some of the movies. They don't make movies anymore, but they can recommend him for a part if they're looking for a big guy in a produced movie by WWE.
Not a good fit for New Japan, you don't think?
Well, I think Gato would could get a lot out of him, but it just does Braun Strowman want to go there? That's another thing. So.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see him show up at Impact or ROH or MLW just because he is such a high ticket guy. He's kind of like Ryback in that sense, right? Like, for Ryback, it's really not it's not something he wants, which is to come and wrestle for very little money when he expects to make a lot of money. And it's sort of the love of the game thing that Ryback probably doesn't have, or maybe he does and just hasn't found the right opportunity. But I sort of see it like that just because of that high dollar expectation from him. The one that I think is possibly somebody who could make waves in the industry is Aleister Black / Tommy End, somebody who did come through the indie scene and, wrestling abroad and making his name. And then coming to WWE, I remember, I was so excited to see him at NXT. I thought he did a pretty good job at NXT, but the worry was always what would happen when he made the main roster. And there was some start and stop with him. There was some stop and stop with him. And I just watched an episode of SmackDown where there's this long 4-way main event, and the finish is that he interferes and he kicks Big E, and Big E takes the fall, and seemed like there's going to be the start of this program. And then now he was on this list. So yeah. I don't know. It's kind of maybe it wasn't all that planned out or something, but it seemed like they were going to do something with him, and then now he's on the chopping block.
Yeah, this was the biggest surprise for me. Wait, more than Strowman, just because I've heard the issues were cleared up and characters were discussed going forward, and all of a sudden, bam! I was just couldn't believe he's on this list. I could see Tommy End really doing well in New Japan. If I'm Gato, I would definitely want him there. I think he can add a lot to the matches. A lot of guys he can work with, obviously. He has a good head on his shoulders. He can kind of slip into that Ospreay role. If Ospreay can't get with it, and with his issues, so he can definitely fill that void if that becomes a void. So, or if it doesn't come a void, he's another great guy to have. AEW, yes, perfect. He fits that. He fits with that group. People go ape shit for him. Him versus Omega and those guys, I'm sure would be, exciting matches for their fans. He fits their style. So yeah, I can see him going there too as well. I think he's going to do all right. I mean, seems like a guy that saved his money, and so I think he's going to be, he'll be all right.
It was so weird because it seemed like, as far as like rumors, that his wife was actually going to come back. And then I don't think she signed anything. At least I didn't hear. but then now he's on the way out. So I can't. I kind of want. I don't imagine that she is gonna stay there now.
No. She should. Yeah. I would be shocked if that happens, but you never know. Hey, paycheck is paycheck, and they can work her deal out, and she can do stuff. Maybe she still wants to do it.
All right, here's a name who I believe is probably a little bit underrated, and maybe somebody who this thing that happened to him could be a nice shot in the arm, and that's Buddy Murphy. What do you think about Buddy Murphy, and where do you think his possibilities lie?
Well, I think Buddy Murphy's a hell of a talent, and I could he'd be a guy AEW should get. Like Tommy End, he does fit their style, and it can work with those guys, and this all depends. Like, AEW can sign all these guys, but they have to do something with them, right? I mean, we've seen with like Christian Cage, he's kind of cold now, and stuff like that. They don't really have the best track record of, with new talent they signed, but and plus they got to get rid of people. It's another thing that they got to make some room for these guys, which is we'll talk about later. But I think AEW he'd be a good place to sign there, but featured. Don't put him on Dark. Don't put him on Elevation. Feature him. Give him time to create a character there and build because he's a super athlete. He fits that style, and also as well for him, New Japan would be good too. Mm-hmm. So those two places, and I'm sure Impact would love him. ROH would love him. But I don't know if they can outbid. They can't outbid, I don't think, AEW or New Japan.
I think there's going to have to be repackaging with him, though, because his character over these last few years was so mid-card and so lackey. I think they can kind of do a refresh on him to kind of get that bad taste out of his mouth, or out of their mouth, out of the fans' mouth about who he is, because I do think he's talented. But I think that based on the Buddy Murphy character of the last few years, people probably look at him as lesser than he actually is.
Well, it's easy. You just, you do some vignettes with him, some coming soon, and some, special little videos, and then he comes in, wins, for about 6 weeks. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, how to start people off. I don't know why it's so difficult for people, though.
He's going to go 18-0 on Dark and Elevation.
Yeah, but that's
be like, hey, we never even seen this guy. What's going on?
You can't start him over there. He has to be on the main show, and that's the thing. You got to start cutting some of this dead weight, and they have a lot there at AEW, and make room for some of these people that they're going to sign. They're going to have to sign. I saw Tony Khan when they talk about Rampage and everything. They're like, "Oh, we're going to expand the roster." I'm like, expand, start cutting. You have 3 hours of main TV, right? I mean, and I don't really count Elevation and Dark. It's there, but I mean, it's not really getting anyone over, like, being featured on your main show. So that's, you got to cut some of those fools and allocate that money elsewhere.
Here's somebody we talked about, the women's roster in AEW, and how Serena Deeb, somebody like Serena Deeb, is so valuable, but there's only one of her. Where would you put Ruby Riott on the list of women wrestlers, workers, established folks in the ring who could help out their roster? Does she fit that, or is she, maybe not veteran enough to kind of fit in there for you?
Oh, I think if she went to AEW, she definitely will be moved up the ladder when it comes to, talent. I mean, she definitely will be up there. So, WWE, there's probably a lot more girls ahead of her, but in AEW, yeah, she'd be right there on top of one of the better workers, and she's been around and she can lead, people, so I think it'd work out. I think that'd be a good signing for them.
Another interesting name, and she's interesting because she is the wife of Miro. They had a great act back in the day. Then they were split up, and it wasn't such a great act. Them separate was not great. But Miro is coming into his own in AEW. Bringing her in would kind of reestablish that act, though I'm not quite sure if that's what he needs to continue to grow in AEW.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them signing her for Miro. And I mean, they signed Vicky Guerrero and doing nothing with her. So I could see him signing Lana and doing nothing with her, or just put her in Miro. Maybe she comes in to mess with Miro. They kind of play off the angle they had on Raw. Then they reunite. I don't know, but
oh no, Savage and Elizabeth Nitro.
Yeah, they could do that. Maybe she's gonna turn Miro babyface and now she's managing someone else and someone new for the god, not like. All of a sudden she shows up with Joey Janela, for God's sakes. Like, don't do that. But maybe you can do that. But I bet you anything she gets signed by AEW. Or maybe she does something else. Maybe she doesn't want to maybe she wants to go into acting and do that for a while. And then she comes back to wrestling like so many people do.
So interesting thing about Lana is she is a social media influencer, like legitimately. And so I wonder, I wish I knew a little bit more about that world, but I wonder two things, and they're kind of the polar opposites. A, is she influencer enough to where she doesn't need that primary platform like WWE, like AEW? Or the flip side is, could she just use the AEW platform for that social media influencer? Maybe she doesn't have to be constantly on TV, but she's sort of a part of the thing. That's this thing that I think stands out about hers, because she legitimately is famous in that social media world, and I think out of all of the women, the Bellas and Lana, she seemed like she was in the upper echelon of utilizing that secondary income, but before they kind of took it away from her. So that's what's interesting to me. I really wonder what her strategy is there.
Yeah. Maybe she'll do that. Maybe she'll make money off the Instagram or TikTok, whatever they do now. She can go that route too. But I wouldn't be shocked though if she shows up at AEW sometime in the future.
So the last one is somebody who, the first time I went to Cauliflower Alley Club, I'm in an elevator. I don't remember. There was a couple of people in the elevator. It wasn't only this person. And I looked at this person. I was like, wow, who is this really beautiful woman? Like, I should know who this person is. And I don't know why I don't know who she is. And I think it's you who told me. You're like, oh, like that Santana Garrett. I was like, no way. Like, man, she is like stunning. And then, she was, I forget what exactly she was doing at that point. She wasn't in NXT yet, I don't think.
No, she was just doing indies at the point.
And then we see her in NXT, and she kind of pretty much played the same role in NXT, pretty much from beginning to end. She'd kind of come in and she'd lose, and then she'd go away, and then all of a sudden she'd come in again and she'd lose. And, you didn't see her often, but whenever you did see her, I was like, gosh, I wish they would do something with her, but she was pretty much in had her role there. She's I don't know where she goes, whether it could be Impact or NWA or whatever, but do you think that she's gonna continue on and still has some years with some of these other companies?
Yeah, oh yeah, I think she's her dad was a wrestler, she's a wrestler. I think she'll end up. I don't know about AEW, but I could see her like an Impact. I could see her in ROH, NWA, I guess. But I could see her kind of do maybe all those companies, I guess. She could probably float around. I thought when I saw Chelsea Green get cut, I thought about her because they were supposed to be packaged together. And I think Vanessa Bourne was supposed to be in that, or just they were supposed to do I think some kind of a take off the. Well, Undertaker's wife's gimmick. What was she with the other girl, Layla? Right? Remember they were like the hot chicks? Yeah,
the offshoot of the Beautiful Girls.
Yeah.
What was their group
I forget
name?
Their names, but
I forget. Yeah.
So they were going to do something like that, right? I don't know if Vanessa Bourne's be. I know Santana Garrett and Chelsea Green for sure were supposed to be together, but or at least that was one of the working ideas. And so when Chelsea got cut, I was like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen to Santana? She hasn't even debuted on SmackDown yet, and bam, she was part of the cut. So yeah, she's older, right, than some of the girls. I mean older in, I guess, in their eyes, right? So I don't, maybe,
Yeah.
And she wasn't the very best in the ring. I don't think she, I mean, she was okay. I thought she was fine, but yeah, I can see her impact. And they're a desperate need of some more women on that roster. They have tag titles and they barely have any people to contend for it. So, and they seem to be opening the pocketbook a little bit. I mean, they re-signed Jordan Grace, so maybe I think she would find a nice home there.
I called them the beautiful girls. They were actually the beautiful people in Impact. And then Lay Cool was Michelle McCool and Layla.
How could I forget that?
I know. You know what though? Like, it was actually kind of a long time ago.
It was it was a long time ago. Two, I just, I can't remember these things anymore.
In WWE years, it didn't seem like it was that long ago, but it actually kind of was a long time.
I do remember, like, they got featured heavily though, and for that was, and it was a very popular act, I guess. So